Welcome to the Noble Ape Podcast, Ape Reality, and this evening a special Ape Reality podcast because this is also the Noble Ape Mailout of March 2007. I'm combining both the Mailout and Ape Reality in a monthly 5-minute update on what is going on with Noble Ape as a means of folk that are on the Mailout mailing list to hear some of the podcast and possibly subscribe through nobleape.com/reality, and also for the folks subscribed to Ape Reality who aren't on the Mailout. People like Darwin at Home developer Gerald de Jong and various other artificial life developers that aren't actually subscribed to the Mailout. So it gives a kind of combination of information. The purpose of this is to produce a single stream of information as opposed to a kind of divergent stream of information. What had happened previously is I had editorialized the Mailout through the podcast, and in the process the Mailout takes me about 2.5 hours to produce on average, so I'm hoping to streamline the whole process. And also I've got the book project that I'm working on currently, so this kind of means that my time in front of a keyboard writing text will be pretty solely associated with the book. The news for this month: the biota.org chat is now featuring Noble Ape. I had been very careful initially to make sure that there wasn't a lot of Noble Ape related stuff going on the biota.org podcast feed, primarily because I just want to get more interesting artificial life folk involved. But also I think I wanted to keep a relatively neutral kind of aspect to the biota.org podcast, mainly because there's just so much going on with artificial life, and if I'm already producing a podcast with Ape Reality, I really didn't need to produce an additional Ape Reality-esque podcast in the biota.org feed. However, I have been trying to motivate a fourth conversation and had some difficulty with regards to getting participants together, and Gerald had emailed me about doing a podcast on his Darwin at Home issues, current issues in development. So there seemed to be a kind of symbiotic meeting of minds with regards to doing the biota.org chat, which you can pick up from the biota.org feed, you can access from biota.org, and there's quite an interesting editorialization of Noble Ape through the chat, and will probably continue to be, as aspects of Noble Ape are juxtaposed to aspects of Gerald's current development. Two features that I'm thinking of and kind of currently implementing on paper, soon to be implementing in the actual simulation, which I will discuss in greater detail in a future podcast for those subscribed to the Ape Reality feed. I'm going to change the brain sizes, or in fact allow for variable brain sizes in the Noble Ape simulation, and this is moving towards the idea of different kinds of predators, moving back the fierce felines, the predatorial cats into the simulation, but also the potential for some predatorial birds, or just various sentient entities that can use similar brain simulation methods to Noble Apes, but with potentially smaller brain sizes, and potentially even increasing the Noble Ape's brain size by a factor of 2 in all directions, so it would become 64 by 64 by 64 as opposed to 32 by 32 by 32. The other thing I've been thinking about is a fully event-driven simulation interface, and this has been discussed previously with regards to the brain traffic control method. Folks on the podcast will remember that, and it has featured in a couple of the mailouts as well. But just moving this idea of brain traffic control initially in the simulation core, and just having event structures that enable stacking of predators, maybe predators that are a bit faster than the Noble Apes, and just adding additional time slices for simulation components that need those time slices, and also being able to distribute the time slices over multiple processors and potentially networks. So this is going to be something I'll experiment with probably in the next 3 to 6 months, depending on how the book project and various other projects go. I will expand on these in a future Ape Reality podcast. So if you're interested in hearing more on this, nobleape.com/reality will provide you with that information. I do have a release of the simulation that I'm planning on getting out in the next month. However, I may pause it briefly to see if I can put in the variable brain size code before I do the release. But that will probably be happening in the next month, and the 0.684 version of the simulation has been a long time coming, so I'm looking forward to getting it out. A quick update to the previously recorded podcast. I've had some communications with Intel with regards to the latest Noble Ape source code that they're modifying, I think for Apple's WWDC 2007. In any case, the Intel source code, the SSE code specifically, now works. It seems to work one-to-one with the scalar code, so vector and scalar code working together. There are a few additional issues the Intel folk and I are working through currently, but it's all very positive and it's been relatively rapid development. The work that they've presented back to me indicates that they've been doing some interesting testing with Noble Ape, so thank you very much to the folks at Intel for their recent source code contribution. I look forward to working with them over the next few months up until WWDC 2007. Thank you very much for listening to the Special Ape Reality podcast. If you need to get in contact with me, tom@nobleape.com. Always like feedback. I'm interested in particular hearing from folk on the Mailout who are listening to this audio treatment for the first time. Feedback on that, or maybe I'll return to the text version of the Mailout, but probably not in the foreseeable future. So, just testing out this medium, and always interested in feedback. Thank you very much for tuning into the special podcast. Look forward to you tuning into the next podcast.